Hi, everybody. Let's read chapter 4. John had the bad habit of chewing things when he was thinking hard. This morning, he had several things to think about. What had made the toothpaste taste like chocolate? What had made the orange juice taste like chocolate? What had made the bacon and egg taste like chocolate? What had made the toast and butter and marmalade taste like chocolate? Each one of these things had felt the way it had always felt before. The toothpaste had been soft and pasty. The bacon had been hot and crisp and oily. The toast had been crunchy, and the marmalade was sticky and lumpy. Do you guys know what marmalade is? It's kind of like jelly. You know when you make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? It's kind of like that. Jelly. Marmalade. Where's my other? I had 2 earbuds. Okay. Marmalade. But everything had tasted like chocolate, just like he'd eaten in bed last night. John put a gloved thumb in his mouth and thoughtfully chewed. His mother had frequently pointed out to him that chewing his gloves made little holes that let in the cold air, but he chewed them just the same. When he was thinking hard, he chewed them when he was thinking hard. This time he noticed something very queer about the thumb of his glove. Queer means unusual. So on the thumb of his glove, something unusual. Instead of tasting leathery, it tasted like chocolate. John pulled his thumb out of his mouth. The part of the glove that had been in his mouth was now brown instead of black like the rest. He bit the end of the leather thumb again. It came off in his mouth. Ew, his glove came off, leaving his own thumb bare. John chewed, and it was like chewing leather made of chocolate. Leather that melted like chocolate. In a second or two, he swallowed it. The gloves were not new. John had had them quite a while. He couldn't understand why he'd never thought of eating them before. He tried to tear off one of the fingers, but the leather was too strong for him. He put it in his mouth, and it immediately turned into chocolate. Then he was able to break it off easily. He popped it in his mouth and chewed it up and swallowed it. It was delicious. Walking along, devouring his glove, John did not notice one of his schoolfellows, Spider Wilson, until he heard his voice. "John's gone crazy! John's gone crazy!" Spider yelled. Then he turned on John. "Don't they feed you where you live?" He sneered. Spider was in the grade just above John, and was the meanest and slyest boys in the whole school. John gulped down a large piece of the second glove's palm and looked pleased. "What's the matter?" Spider demanded. "Do your people make you eat leather?" "This is a special leather," John replied. He licked his lips and sighed contentedly. "It turns into chocolate as soon as you put it in your mouth. Look." John bit off the glove's little finger and put it in his mouth. Now it's chocolate. He put it back in his mouth and gulped it down. "Give me a piece," said Spider. "Why should I?" John wanted to know. "They're my gloves." "Hand over a piece," Spider said. "Do I eat your gloves?" John asked reasonably, his mouth full of chocolate. "Why should you eat mine?" "Those aren't real gloves," Spider said. "Whenever one person has candy, he has to share it with others. That's the club rule." "What club?" John asked. Here's a picture of John and Spider. He's saying, "Give me some." I like the illustrations. "Never mind what club," Spider said. "But you'd better let me have some of that chocolate." Without waiting longer, Spider snatched what was left of the second glove. John was too surprised to resist, and he didn't want to anyhow. He had a feeling that he'd had enough chocolate for a while. He was getting kind of thirsty. Spider ran only a little way ahead, and when he saw John wasn't going to fight to get the glove back, he started to eat his prize. He stuffed the leather in his mouth and took a big bite. Spider stopped short in his tracks. He frowned a bit deep into the leather again. Disgusting! It tasted worse than just leather. It tasted like leather with which a boy had made mud pies and snowballs and patted old dogs. John thought perhaps he might be getting late for school, so he started running. He left Spider Wilson spitting the soggy remains of the glove into the gutter. Still giggling to himself about the defeat of the enemy, John walked between the great stone pillars at the entrance to the school grounds. He'd gone no more than halfway to the main building when he heard Susan Buttercup calling him. She was standing near the jungle gym with some of her friends. "I've got something to show you, John," she shouted. As she came running to meet him, he could see that she was waving something in her hand that flashed as it caught the rays of the sun. It was a silver dollar. "It's a birthday present," she explained, showing him the dollar. "Isn't it beautiful?" The sight of such wealth made John forget the triumphs of his own day. "It's a good present," he said. "Are you sure it's made of silver, though? I once got a whole bag of coins in a Christmas stocking, only they were chocolate coins, covered with gold paper." "Of course it's real, silly," Susan said. "My daddy said so. You can feel it if you don't believe me." She handed him the coin. John looked at the coin suspiciously. "All right," Susan said. "Bite it if you think it isn't real. Go on. Bite the coin." "What's going to happen? Are you making a prediction?" John felt rather silly. "I can see it's real now," he said. "I don't have to bite it." "But I want you to," Susan insisted. "You weren't sure." "Well, make sure." Boys and girls, this is kind of an old-fashioned book, and I'm not sure of the story behind this, but people, you could tell what the metal was of a coin by biting it. I've seen that in old movies. They bite the coin to make sure it's a real metal or a piece of money with value. So that's why she keeps saying to bite the coin. We don't do that anymore. A nickel's a nickel. But that's what she's saying. She wants him to bite the coin to make sure it's real. That's what they always do on television. That's what I just said. When a cowboy wants to make sure a dollar's real, he bites it. John put the dollar about halfway into his mouth, and he reluctantly bit it. His teeth went right through the coin. Right through. The part that had passed between his lips was hard but sweet chocolate. Susan could hardly believe her eyes. She'd given John a complete circle of silver. The metal silver. And he sadly handed back a crescent shape. Do you know what she means by crescent shape? Like the shape of a moon, because he took a bite out of it. John didn't know what to say. Susan couldn't speak. Tears trickled down her cheeks like rain down a window pane. She looked at the piece of dollar in her hand, and she looked up at John, whose face was red with embarrassment. "John Midas," Susan blurted out, "I hate you." She turned and ran away before John could think of anything at all to say. Chapter 5. I wonder, boys and girls, good readers do this. Get some questions in your mind. Is he going to be tired of chocolate? That's what I'm wondering about. What do you think? I don't think I would, but you might, because chocolate only tastes good because you just have it once in a while. Your favorite treat, ice cream, dessert. If you had it every time you ate something and you could never eat an apple or an orange or a sandwich again, would you get tired of it? I'll be back for chapter 5.